Hello, my name's Sydney. I'm a freshman in high school and an aspiring film major, and today I'm going to be hosting the Film of Future podcast for my journalism class. This is going to be with my dad, Eric, who is a movie and TV, an entertainment consumer as well, and he was born and raised in a completely different generation from me. He was raised in the 90s, and the film industry was a lot different back then compared to now. We have streaming platforms and not going to the movies because of those streaming platforms and because of the pandemic. So we're going to be comparing and contrasting the difference between the film industry now and then and how that may affect the quality of film. Okay, so the point of this is to talk about the future of the film industry. And so I think we should start off by talking about the past and what has brought us up to now, like all the directors and actors and trends in film that have brought us up to where we are now, and then take a look into what might happen in the future. So,
Okay, sounds good.
what are some aspects of older movies that you think are missing from newer movies, or aspects that you think you're happy aren't in newer movies?
Some of my favorite films are like the long epic films, and a lot of that stuff is in a lot of films that I like later, like in the early '60s, '70s. I like the French Connections, and earlier than that, like I like Doctor Zhivago, and then later in the '90s there was like movies that were like Doctor Zhivago, or like Cold Mountain. The one, this one Civil War one. What was it? Dancing with Wolves.
Oh yeah, Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. So they were kind of like war, like war love stories. Going with the Wind, stuff like that. So they're very similar.
I definitely think if you stick with like, I don't know how true this is, but I feel like if you watch Vietnam movies that were made closer to Vietnam, they're always like better than ones you're gonna watch now. Maybe because some of them do feel more heartfelt and genuine, probably because they were still like feeling more of the effects of the time, but also because like that was the film quality during Vietnam and stuff like that, and so it's almost like more realistic, you know what I mean? Just like that movie mid-90s we watched, even though it was made in 2018, it felt so much more genuine because they used film equipment from the 90s, so that it felt way more like immersive.
Yeah, I guess, they've done some good jobs with things like the Vietnam, what's it, Platoon?
Mm-hmm.
Platoon was done really good. Of course, 1918 was awesome.
1917.
1917,
Yeah.
That was like,
No, seriously.
You'd have thought that they filmed it right there while it was going on. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's the cinematography, because the older cinematography, when you make something look older using the cinematography, that is like a gimmick that is gonna make your movie better for different reasons, you know what I mean? Like that, obviously the quality of it isn't gonna be as good because you're using older equipment, but
right.
You get that heartfelt part. But with 1917, that was just like the most beautiful cinematography, and it was really high tech. Obviously they didn't have cameras like that in 1917, but it was just as amazing in a different way.
Yeah, it was a really simple story. It was great though. I loved it.
Yeah.
Good movie.
So, do you think that moving forward in the film industry that we're gonna like be progressive? Like, do you think that people are gonna look at this era of film and think that we did worse than other eras?
No, I think there's still a lot of great movies.
Mm.
Now it's all, of course, it's all streaming and Netflix, and all that. But yeah, I mean, I still think they make great films. I don't think the streaming service don't seem like they're just selling out to Marvel comic movies and just movies that movies that like the it seemed like the box office was actually leaning towards just silly Spider-Man movies and
Yeah, that is
sequels
so
to
true.
it was just movies that would make a lot of money.
You'd
And they
think
were
you'd think with like the old school aspect of like cinema and theater and stuff like that, that they would care more about like what you hear older people saying like, oh, we cared so much more about the craftsmanship back then, but it seems like the box office, and it seems like they just whatever makes the most money. But it really is surprising how much like these streaming services care about the quality of their work. You know what I mean? Like Netflix originals and stuff like that.
yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with them. You
No,
know.
the TV shows are great too, and
Mm.
they yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great movies, and they don't seem to like take away from the creativity when they Netflix there's a lot of interesting movies and Amazon Prime and HBO and yeah, all of them, they really seem like they're yeah, they seem like they genuinely are trying to make some good stuff, and they're all the good actors are on the it's not like watching CBS or something when you watch Netflix. I mean,
Mm.
Robert De Niro usually weren't they he wasn't on NCIS and stuff like that, so they have all the big actors, and yeah, they take chances. I think you have to kind of take chances to make something original. So they seem
Yeah.
to still be doing that, and I enjoy a lot of current movies right now.
Mm.
I think they're all really good.
Yeah, I kind of thinking about it now. I kind of feel like this wave of streaming services and the new way that we're like consuming media, and that this like entertainment platform is like being created is actually like a really good thing, because it was almost like a clean slate. Like I feel like the quality and the quality of what you're seeing being mass produced is like going down, you know what I mean? The quantity's going up.
Right.
So the term mass production is like what was happening. And it was almost just like, starting over. And it's definitely like a turning point the past decade or whatever.
They're gonna.
Yeah.
I think that going forward, I think they're gonna start making. I think they're gonna start making some original movies instead of just keep making,
Mm.
Star Wars 70, volume
Yeah.
73.
I mean,
and,
they ended Star Wars. That last one's over. I mean, that's
Yeah.
over.
Oh, thank God. But I think,
Yeah.
and I like them. I don't like.
Yeah, and they.
I don't like CGI, but they did
Oh,
okay
but the
with it.
last three, see, that is what I liked when I was watching Star Wars the other day. The ones they made in the early 2000s, that was my favorite storyline, but there was too much CGI.
Yeah.
But the ones that they made recently, they definitely took that feedback, because there was a lot of like, they traveled to different countries, and like the scene where at the end where Kylo Ren was on the
Okay.
thing, and there was like real water, real waves, and they were like soaking wet, and there was no CGI like
Right.
in those parts. You know what I mean? It was like.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, they did good with the last ones. They took people's feedback instead of just, we're talking about just mass production. I feel like movies, like, especially with Netflix, they change the way that they do things based off of, like, what the audience says, which sounds like common sense, but I feel like as you make more and more stuff, it's in, like, smaller amounts of time, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the coronavirus slowed things down a lot too.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think they're doing good things on the streaming services, and I don't see why the quality would have to go down. I mean,
Yeah.
and movies will come back. People are still invested in AMC and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
they'll be back.
Yeah, so you're talking about, you watch series and stuff on these streaming platforms. What platforms do you use, and what shows do you watch?
I'm watching. I'm just watching more Amazon Prime now. Of course, I'm watching Netflix. A lot of the shows, I'm just kind of watching old shows that I never saw before. Like I watched all the Better Call Sauls. I loved them. I watched the Mr. Robot. That was
Oh, yeah, you finished that?
4 seasons of that. It was awesome. I loved it, and that's an old show, but I just never got a chance to watch it. I could never just watch a show at a certain time on a certain day. I love the fact that I can watch it whenever I want. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have never watched all 4 seasons of Mr. Robot if
Yeah.
it wasn't for that. I
Yeah.
thought it was awesome.
I feel like there's like pros to that and then cons to that. Like you were just talking about is like more people are gonna be invested all the way through because they're doing it on their own pace. More people are gonna get the whole story, which is obviously very important, but there is like a aspect of being excited for the next episode.
Yeah.
And everybody's watching it on that certain day, and we're still getting that with seasons, you know what I mean?
It does kind of take away from the family aspect of it when you
Mhm.
get your family together and watch a certain show at
Yeah.
a certain time and friends and you're like
But
the
I mean,
anticipation.
people still do watch Netflix originals together,
We have
especially like Stranger Things
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like maybe we didn't, but
Okay.
a lot of families like watch
Right.
shows like the super popular ones together when the
Yeah.
new seasons come out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, me and Caleb and Jen watched. We watched Fargo together. We waited till because we were on the same episode, and we were, we waited till we all got together. So yeah, I mean, people still do that,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, you can't get away from being able to watch things whenever you want. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
And I also think that, a lot of people, you watch, like me and Desi watched, me and my cousin watched an HBO series, or was it HBO? A streaming service actually, like Hulu or something, original series called Euphoria. Actually, I think it's HBO Max, so HBO streaming service. And only one season is out, and that was like 3 years ago, and it got like postponed by COVID and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But I mean, she's okay with rewatching shows, so we rewatched it together after she had watched it. But I feel like a lot of times what happens is somebody watches the first season of a show, tells somebody about it, and then they'll watch the first season, and then
Yeah.
they'll like continue it on together.
Right.
Or at least that's what I've done a lot with
I
my
can see
friends.
that. Yeah, I would like to do that.
Yeah.
I've told many people to catch up to me so we can watch the
Yeah,
next season
exactly.
together, like Peaky Blinders and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So, do you think that the production value, I mean, we've kind of already touched on this, but are streaming services affecting the production value at all?
I mean, I never really thought about it, but yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think I think there's a lot of money in people buying, buying these streaming services and paying monthly instead of going to the movies. It seems like they put out a lot of quality stuff, and they put out a lot of other stuff just to rom-coms and stuff like that. Like they still do all that stuff. I mean, it pretty much seems the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're allowing people to be creative and and I think when you have human beings writing stories about I think movies just get in touch with your emotions and your feelings and stuff like that. And as long as human beings are still writing this stuff, they're still gonna touch your heart and stuff like that, which I think movies do. And yeah, I don't think we're gonna lose anything really as far as quality goes. I think it'll pretty much be the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, we look at situations like with the box office and cinemas and stuff like that. We think a lot of times people think negatively of the people who mass produce these movies. You know what I mean? Not just talking about now, but like early Hollywood, it would be like buildings where 30 movies would be filmed at the same time. You know what I mean? And it's and it happens when streaming services first started coming out. I think that they kind of freaked out a little bit because not as many people were buying DVDs and seeing commercials on TV and going to the movie theaters and stuff like that, and they kind of had to up the production and then not make as quality movies, oops.
What's my question?
Okay, so Oh, okay. So I think that the timing of it says a lot about the timing of when sequels to movies come out and when more series come out. It kind of gives you an idea of the production value, because if you see a sequel come out to a movie like not even a year, sometimes you see them like 10, 11 months later, or even less than that, then like they planned it, and most likely they planned it, and it's probably just for the sake of making money, you know, like, and
Yeah.
the sequel didn't need to be there. But you see with series on Netflix and stuff, like the Stranger Things series,
They take their time.
they take their time.
They really
yeah,
do.
in between seasons, it really takes a while.
I've noticed that. I was waiting for the next Peaky Blinders to come out, and it took a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually on like BBC or something. So, but still, it was a couple years in between the seasons. That's not a Netflix series.
Yeah,
That's,
but
I
you
think
know, that's what I'm saying.
something
Just in
else.
production in general, if things come out far apart, it's pretty obvious that they're putting their time into it.
Yeah, on the Netflix ones they do.
But you know, there is to take in count for like COVID and stuff like that. Like the new Stranger Things series got pushed back like a whole summer, you know what I mean? And Euphoria got pushed back like a whole summer. But you know, it was still like already a year since the last Euphoria and the last Stranger Things season. So and the other seasons too, for at least Stranger Things. Euphoria only has one, but for Stranger Things, those came out, I think one of them was like 3 years after the other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people are still invested in them.
Yeah, and that is a Netflix series, huh?
Yeah, that is a Netflix original. That was like one of the first really successful ones.
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
The new Fargo is a HBO Max series, and that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good one so far.
So, I mean, COVID, I wouldn't say it's affecting the production value necessarily. I mean, I guess they're probably rushing it.
I guess it's yet to be seen, huh?
Yeah.
Because they really haven't. I think they put off filming a lot of these things.
Yeah.
So.
I know that Stranger Things, it was gonna be set a year after the last season, but now they're making it 2 years. You know what I mean? So it had me thinking, like, what would it have been? So like, would it have been better?
Now the kid that got like sent in the time, he's gonna have like a full beard.
Yeah, he's got. I mean, they're all like 17, 18 years old now. You know what I mean? They're adults. Right. So, yeah. So do you have good thoughts about the future of the film industry? Are you expecting good things?
I expect good things. Yeah, I've seen a lot of. I see a lot of creativity. You know, I think this younger generation, just knowing some of the younger generation. I mean, they seem like. I think they'll put a lot of heart into these films. I mean, it's this generation is so loving and accepting to other people, and you know, like the early generations always want to talk smack on the like younger people and say.
I mean, yeah, that's always how it is.
But this younger generation is awesome. Like they seem like they're just. There's a lot of love and tolerance for each other. They don't really judge each other, and I think it's going to reflect that in the movies.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know? I think it'll be good.
And I definitely see like actors and actresses like coming up, you know what I mean? Like Timothée Chalamet, the kid in that Super Bowl commercial and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not your generation per se, and like older people don't really know who he is, but everybody my generation knows who he is. You know what I mean? Like everybody. Like people are gonna be telling their kids about Timothée Chalamet, like when I'm older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just cool to see that happen. And he is such a good actor. I mean, it's really good. It's cool to see almost like my generation succeeding. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some good ones. I'm not really familiar with them too much, but.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where my generation's creativeness takes this, you know what I mean? The things that are going to be created, and the actresses and actors and directors and writers that are going to come from my generation.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see it too.
Yeah.
See what the next generation does in film.
Yep.
I'm super excited.
Should definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
So that wraps it up for the podcast. We made some pretty interesting points, at least I think so, or I hope so. And I think it was pretty entertaining, and we both enjoyed doing it and starting a conversation. And so hopefully this got you thinking or excited or wondering about the future. And I'm excited to see the future of the film industry for sure, and to see new trends and where the industry takes us, and just to consume entertainment material in the future, and hopefully produce some